I'm Stuart Douglas. I'm the Managing Director of PoGo Charge. We are building an ultra-rapid EV charging network in the UK.
Hi, I'm Abbey Graham. I am the co-founder and director of Everec, a specialist EV recruitment service. And I've been working with PoGo over the last year or so to support their growth. I head up the EV charging division. And thank you.
So today we're talking about talent in the EV sector, what we're doing to recruit talent from within and outside of the sector, and how we are retaining that. I mean, it's been so important for us at PoGo. We have grown massively, I think probably beyond what we expected in the past 4 or 5 months. Everything that we do is underpinned by people. I think we were talking about that earlier today. You know, it's all about getting the right people into the right positions, enabling them to do what they do. And ultimately that's been delivering really good results for us.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you can have the biggest budgets, the biggest amount of customers, but without the right people in the right places, those goals aren't going to be hit.
At PoGo, it's culture. I think that's what we get across really well when we interview and when we recruit. It's culture. I personally believe in a shared or distributed leadership style. So that means allowing people to do their job. Obviously boundaries and parameters are really important, but it's getting people into the right place and letting them do what they're really, really good at without restricting them too much. And I think getting that across in interview or recruitment cycles has been really key for us. It's making people understand that they will join a business that's growing, it's fast, it's exciting, it's the EV sector, there's loads of opportunity, that's great, but you'll come into an environment that I think is really trusted.
Yeah.
And their opinion is really important, their voice will be heard, and they will absolutely get the opportunity to shape where we go, what we do, how we work, how we deliver things in the future. That for me has been quite unique in our approach, and I think people have really bought into that idea, and then you've seen them join the business and actually really flourish and deliver really good results really quickly because we've allowed them to do that.
I think there's been a few poignant ones that have stood out to me, not only for hiring for yourself, Stuart, but then also other clients as CPOs. There's probably 3 core markets where we're looking to bring people in. One of them is the technical abilities, so huge growth with project managers and engineers, that hands-on experience from other industries that have seen it firsthand. So like the telecoms industry, solar industry. We've hired a lot of project managers together throughout our time, and I think that core experience from previous has been really handy.
I think it's really important for the sector at the moment that we start to introduce talent from other areas and other industries. I think that's important for a couple of reasons. One, we don't have enough existing people in the sector to support the growth. So if we need, you know, in round numbers, 500 people today to support the networks that are growing in the UK, that would be 1,000 people next year. They can't appear out of nowhere. So it's really important that we pull them across from other industries, other sectors, and they understand the opportunity that exists in EV. It's also really important that we start to challenge status quo and existing practices, and the way that people work in the sector today isn't necessarily the right way to work, and it doesn't mean it can't be better tomorrow. So I think bringing lots of people in from other areas with transferable skills is really important for us to challenge what we do today and start to add value and improve processes and ways of working for the future.
Definitely, that was going to be my second point, that transferable skill piece. I think the people that work in the automotive sector, the battery sector, who have had that high-paced, transferable ops roles, we've hired a few of those together.
We've seen it. We've benefited from that, absolutely. Bringing those people through that are used to working at pace, that have been in businesses that have grown, that have refined processes as businesses or industries have matured. They're absolutely something that the EV sector can benefit from.
And you get up to speed, within the EV sector. You don't need to be an EV expert to be directors in this industry. I think maybe thinking outside the box and not having those kind of core capabilities at the start, maybe it is something that, brings talent to the forefront inevitably. And then thirdly, I think that other things that we're looking at now is more of the legislation piece. So people that have come in from, government bodies, DNOs, I think that's a huge part of bringing that knowledge within internally rather than outsourcing.
And when you talk to candidates that might be from within another sector, are they attracted to the EV industry?
Yeah, so that's a really good point. I think part of my job and what I do is growing my network to not only be people in the EV sector, but to have people that see my content and see the jobs I post externally. So it is making connections and following those people that are from other outside industries. Sometimes it's difficult reaching out to them and getting a response. So I found the best thing that does work is reaching out to them, telling them why the EV charging industry is exciting, where the growth opportunities are within that, but then also why I think they are going to be good within those roles. So I know this is on your CV, this is your transferable skill, and this is why it'll work really, really well in this role. I think that's kind of where the key is to make those people want to jump over, because on face value, sometimes you wouldn't necessarily see that those external industries would collide really well with EV charging.
Yeah, absolutely. And they can bring new ways of working, new ideas. Again, I think, and certainly for us at PoGo, as the business grows, we want a broader knowledge base. We don't want people that have just had experience in EV. Really important that we've got really great people from the EV sector and they understand that. But to get, and we've benefited from people that have joined from other CPOs. I think that's the first stage.
Yeah.
Is people have been at other CPOs and they've grown networks, and we start to benefit from knowledge across multiple CPO bases, but that then expands out to other sectors. So great, we've got a broad knowledge from people that have worked with other CPOs, and then we've got an even broader knowledge base with people that have worked in the electrical industry. Again, automotive definitely seems to fit the bill for us. And maybe that's going to grow even further in the future. But there's a real opportunity for us, but also the sector, I think, to benefit from that. And now feels like the right time for people to do that.
I think, that's a huge piece for getting the voice of EV charging out there, what we're about, what we're trying to do, our mission statement, and getting people involved at this early stage, not only for the industry to have that mission piece, but then also individual CPOs and companies like you doing things like this essentially is putting PoGo on the map, making people know what you're like as a culture, as a fit, and it's gaining that interest and that traction from them other external companies that I think are really important.
I think that the challenge that we've seen with recruiting, or the area with the greatest skills gap for us, has probably been leadership, strategy, people that have a depth of knowledge in really key areas for us. And I know the operational role was a really hard one to fill, operations director, somebody that has, had different experiences and can bring their learning from, a number of years or a number of different challenges, because the EV sector is so new. It's really hard to find people that have had a depth, a career of 5 years or 10 years and have overcome challenges and have carved out different ways of working and can actually talk about that and how they learned and made mistakes. That for me is the challenge. I think we've got common roles that have got common transferable skills, like project management and like account management. I don't think that's been a huge challenge for us, but the senior, the leadership positions where you want people to form a strategy and deliver it and to measure that, and then to understand when we're doing well or when we're not doing well, and be able to actually own that and introduce corrective measures, that layer of experience, I think, is really tough in this industry. And I think that's purely because it's in its infancy at the moment.
Yeah, and I think that's where, I guess, specialists and headhunters come into it, because you're not going to get those people applying for your roles because they are doing well in their certain sectors and getting results. Those kind of people, aren't necessarily looking to jump ship. And I think that's where you need the headhunt piece to listen to you and say, these are our challenges, these are the weaknesses in the team at the moment, or this is what we're facing, and how do we fill that? And it's being able to look into those different industries with those transferable skills and pull someone out and maybe able to sell them back to you and think that maybe I didn't know exactly what I needed, but now I do. Yeah, I won't tell you all my secrets, but I'll tell you a few. I think the key is being a specialist. Having that niche is so important. As your job day to day, there's so many layers to it. There's so many things, industry trends, businesses being sold, businesses moving to a different dynamic and direction, coming in and trying to recruit in this industry without knowing all of those points and markers is just a really tough thing to do. So I think having a specialist in a certain niche field is very helpful in terms of hiring. Second is that building of the network and just growing on it constantly. Any relationships and things that have been built aren't just built overnight. So there's a lot of my candidates or clients that were candidates and are now clients, or vice versa. Yeah. And it's that relationship piece, it builds on it. So if a candidate, for example, wasn't going to fill your role, I might fill them with another role 2 weeks later because I then knew the strengths, knew the weaknesses.
So it sounds like a bit of a snowball, really. 100%. The more relationships you strike up, the more people you place, the more people you work with, it essentially will give you a compounded result. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's that building upon the relationship that you had, and a lot of recruiters get a bad name in the industry, put people forward for loads of roles, never get feedback. And it's just, not the way I work. I work very specialist, very technical, and treat people how I'd essentially want to be treated if I was in that same position. So, network and relationships, I think, are the key to hiring good talent. So how long it took you to fill the role from getting the job description all the way to offer acceptance? Obviously, the quicker for that, the better. You don't want to waste your time going through loads of interviews. You know how it's like. You want that job done as soon as possible. So that's a huge one. And also in terms of client and candidate satisfaction, you know if you've done a good job because you'll continue to do roles with that client. And you'll also know if you've done a good job with that candidate, because if they didn't get a role that you put them for, the last one, they'll pick up the phone and be really excited to work with you again for the next role you have. So it's less of like a KPI and a metric, but you can measure your success based on relationship building and then also time it takes to kind of fill. I think another one that's not touched on too much is the diversity metrics that we have. So the underrepresented groups of people within that candidate pool that I'm putting to you. It's a very male dominated industry, and I make it a real mission and point to try and put over underrepresented groups. We have our database and things that you can see the score and the value of that. So that's something I really focus on personally. And we've hired a few women and a few like underrepresented people, and I do think that's super important. It comes in peaks and troughs. I think any holiday seasons are really good for candidates because they're out of work, Christmas time, school holidays, they can pick up the phone. But then it's really difficult to get hold of clients because they're on holiday, they're not hiring, they're not looking for that kind of forecast. So it does go in waves. I think before Christmas is typically a huge period. During the Christmas time and January, Q1 is pretty difficult. And then it starts to ramp up again after new budgets and everything happen in April. So it's a fluctuation that you've got to manage accordingly, and the hiring forecast for you and being able to know exactly where you want people and when is essential for us working on a long-term relationship, because I'll know exactly when to start looking for people if it is going to be a quiet candidate season, and trying to plan for that so you don't have kind of probation periods and things like that to deal with in with it. I think being really specific with job descriptions, obviously as a recruiter I do that anyway. I'll get a job description off you and I make it as
non-obvious that it's your company as possible for confidentiality reasons, but I'll really take time to take out if it says 5 years in engineering or 5 years managerial experience, or I really dig down and ask, do you really need that? Because you're going to cut half of your application just by putting something on there that you don't even need, but you just think you might need or might look good. So I think the way that you put across those job advertisements it is challenging.
We know that diverse workforces are really important. It brings different thinking, different ideas, even, the cultural backgrounds are really important. I think the way that we address that, and yes, it's a male-dominated industry, and I think, again, it's going back to what we talked about earlier and making sure that it's open outside of the EV sector. Because if we look at just the EV sector today, that means that, well, ultimately a large proportion of that is going to be aimed at males.
Yeah.
So opening up to other sectors will provide, a greater chance, a greater opportunity to introduce diversity into our teams.
Yeah, and I think a good thing about taking into consideration the lifestyles of different underrepresented cultures. So the flexibility of working is a huge thing for being able to just attract different kinds of talent. I think that openness and being case by case basis, which I know is super tricky sometimes, but that flexible working piece and understanding what them people need to go around their lifestyle, I think, is essential.
Talk to me about the job descriptions and the application process and how we might improve that to uplift the diversity that we have coming through today.
Yeah, I think that's a huge point of it, the job application side of things. So there's statistics that say if you have 5 key elements on a job description, in order for a key candidate to apply, women will only apply if they hit 100% of all of those key metrics, where a man will apply if he only hits 60%. So you're automatically there reducing your candidate pool by nearly half.
We were talking about the interview, the recruitment process, and how important it is to get the culture and the brand across to people that are joining our business. And I think that marketing piece, that brand awareness piece, is really important to PoGo this year.
Yeah.
There are 2 facets to that. One is continued growth, so it's making sure that our brand is out there. And property owners, people that own retail parks and hotel chains and service stations know who PoGo are. Yeah. They understand what we're doing and what we're doing well, and we're certainly doing it quickly. But there's also that brand awareness piece into the public domain. Yeah. So the driver community will be really, really important to us. It'll get more and more important every single year as the network gets bigger and bigger. It's really important to us today. So there's lots of work that we're doing. This is part of that awareness piece, and we continue to multiply our investment in marketing. Yeah, really important part of what we're doing.
I think a really important part of getting to know you as well. So when I send a candidate over to you, I'll send them to your page, and having your voice on there, being able to see what your mannerisms are like, and they almost feel like they've kind of met you before they have, and it's less daunting. They'll know kind of how your mannerisms and how you come across. So I think getting the face of the MD of the company out to people and knowing who you're going to be working for, what they're about, what the product's like, but also what the people are like is key. I guess when we met first off, I put you on my charged updates newsletter, and you said a few words on there. And I think that's done wonders in terms of my network, seeing who you were already. A lot of them were like, I know of Stuart, you had him on your recent company of the week. And I think marketing and recruitment and talent acquisition go hand in hand for sure.
Thanks for coming along, Abby. Really good to talk to you today.
Yeah, you too. Thank you for having me on. It's been an honour.